Hi guys, this is Chris from Crochet Basics and the Batty Belfry. I am jumping on today to talk to you about another thing that I struggled with when I was first starting out. When a pattern would tell me to crochet around the edge of my project, I panicked because there is no prescribed, air quotes, place to insert your hook to do those stitches across. So I just wanted to pop onto your TV or your screen today to talk to you about how I do that. But first, like I always do, let me start off by saying that this is how I crochet. It in no way represents the entire crochet community. We're all artists and we're all going to develop our very own specific way of creating, especially when it comes to going around the edge of a project. That is not more true anywhere in crochet than this specific thing right here. However, there are some basic standards, and I will be teaching you those today as well. With all that being said, I am located in the southern United States, and I will be speaking in U.S. standard crochet terms. So let's get started. I'm sorry that my body's kind of in the frame down here a little bit. I wanted you to be able to see what this actually looks like. I am still working on my Grogu pattern for my Etsy store. This is going to be a scarf and a headband. So if you're interested in doing this pattern, please consider supporting me there. I will be doing some free tutorials on this channel, but for this one, this is going to be a pay for it only. I think that this is going to be a $5 pattern. So this is my only way, this is my only means of making money. So please support me that way. This is not supplementary income. This is my only income. I have been an artist solely for over a decade, and that's enough of that. My gosh. Okay, I got off on a tangent. Please support me. Thank you very much. If not, that's okay too. I completely understand. So what we are going to do is I'm going to talk about how you go from this kind of an edge over here, which is a raw edge of turning chains, as I went back and forth across my project, to something that looks like this. And I know this doesn't look very straight right now. On graph patterns, you're going to get some pull and tug in your graph patterns. So even when you go around with an edge like this, it's not going to be perfectly straight. You have probably seen in patterns, or if you haven't, I'll just tell you, a lot of patterns are going to say to block, B-L-O-C-K, your project. And what that is submerging it in water, getting the fibers wet and stretchy, and putting pins in it to stretch it out and make the dimensions, exactly where you want it to be. This I deal almost solely in wools. I will use some cottons as well, but everything in here is a natural fiber, and I have my reasons for that, but we'll just leave it at that for right now. Natural fibers definitely need blocking. They respond very well to the blocking process, and it really doesn't seem like it's going to be that important until you do it for the first time, and then you're like, oh my gosh, why have I not been doing this to all my projects? At least that's what I did. I didn't block anything for years and years and years, and then when I did it, I was like, oh wow, okay, so I'm never not gonna block. Okay, so enough about that. I have started in the middle of this line up here because I just like to start kind of somewhere on the edge with it, and I stopped at the corner here because I wanted to show you guys what doing a corner looks like. If you've never done a corner, and you've only done back and forth single crochets, this is a very important part of the process. you may not know that it's important to go into your last stitch, or what looks like your last stitch, because you're kind of on the edge, so you're almost flying blind at that point. So what you do to go around an edge is, I'm going to try to keep this in the frame here. Sometimes I'm really bad about not doing that. So I've got it up to the very last little edge here. And what you do is you chain 2, because you're going to go around that corner. And then you go back into exactly the same stitch. You're going to go exactly where you were on this row, but you're just going to be moving in the other direction. I 100% recommend to do a single crochet around every single edge that you're going to do. I do not recommend anything fancier than that, because a single crochet always, to me, looks neater. If you're going to go around your project with a fancy edge, do a single crochet first in your base color, your main color that you used. That way, if you come down just a little bit, or you skip around as you're going across the edge, it's not going to be as noticeable. And you will do that for the first few years that you're crocheting. Even if you're crocheting every single day, you're going to need to use the same color. But again, I'm off topic. Gosh, I'm wordy today. I'm sorry, guys. This end here, I also left this end on purpose, because this is our starting end. This is where I did my chain and turned and went back into my chain. So this is my very beginning of this scarf. So you'll see it looks a little bit funny. You don't have the typical looking chains, the typical looking V's across the top that you normally would. So it does look a little bit different to go into this end than it will the next end. But once you figure out where the spot is that is below your stitch, it's really easy to go into. And it always leaves this gap here in your stitches. It never looks just like this going across the bottom. I agonized over that little gap right there. It looks like that in all of our projects. Do not agonize over it. All of the seasoned crocheters have the same thing happen to them. So there are no things to do to make that any different. So I'm just going to keep going across my first row here, and I'm trying to get this thing to focus, and boy, it wants to focus on the wrong thing. So I may play around with it just a little bit, trying to get my focus right, so you guys can see exactly where I'm going, because it's going to be really important when we get to the edge. This part you'll figure out, because this is almost like going straight across a row, and if you know how to go straight across a row with a single crochet, you will be able to figure this part out pretty simply. Now, if you are doing a single crochet going around the edge, like I do recommend, into what is a single crochet project like this. And you will notice in most of my projects, I don't tend to do complex patterns with, you go here and you repeat this, and then you do this stitch, and then you do that stitch. I like doing simple stitches in fancy ways. So if you have simple stitch understanding, then you will be able to do my patterns, because I just think it looks better. I don't think you need all those, like the crazy repeats of stitches, like the different stitches and all that stuff. So let me see. It still hasn't focused, but we're gonna try to make it focus here. So that is what the first row looks like when you go around it. Again, do not agonize over those holes right there. That's normal. Nobody else is going to notice that but you, and other crocheters are going to be like, oh yeah, so I get that too. That's all part of it. So we are at a corner again. So what did we do last time? We chained 2 and went directly into the same spot that we were. I'm going to go back into that same stitch, and that makes you a flat corner. Just makes everything nice. So on every project that you do, you can use that. The single crochet stitch, chain 2, single crochet on the other side into the same stitch. So there are other ways to do it. That is just how I do it. That's why I have a disclaimer at the beginning of all of my videos. I think that's probably the most common way of doing it, but there are other ways, and some people like other ways better, and that's okay too. That's the lovely thing about being an artist. We all get to do our different things, and it all works. So, okay, to go along a single crochet with a single crochet row or round around the outside, your single crochet stitches are 1 stitch high and 1 stitch wide. That is the nature of a single crochet. So that being said, that means that you should be putting 1 stitch in the end of every single row and it lay flat. So that's what you're going to look for. If you followed any of my other videos, you will know that single crochet is really easy to count the number of rows because you've got a little ridge in between every 2 stitches. So this is 2, 4, 6 rows right here. So we should have 6 stitches down that way as we go along. And the way that I do it, I say little things in my head to help me figure out where I'm going to put my stitches on a single crochet. This to me, this little spot where I'm going to put my hook looks more like a knot. So I will say in my head, knot, as I do that. And then there's going to be one that looks a little bit different. And this to me looks like a line. I don't know why I have those terms, but that's what I use. I will say knot, line, knot, line, knot, line. As I'm going, you don't have to count your rows, but you're always saying something in your head with crochet. So it makes us kind of crazy, but it also keeps us interesting, right guys? So we've got, and the reason I call it a knot is because this right here, it's right on top of what looks like a knot to me. So let me pull that back so I can get a little bit more in focus. So that is knot. And then you've got line is where it's going to go on top of. So it goes right in that hole. And the next one will be a knot. So it is right there. And the next one is going to be a line. And that should be 6 stitches into 3, 4, 5, 6. And that is 6 stitches into the end of all of our single crochet rows. So I'm going to keep talking as I go along the edge of this project because I'm trying to finish it up for my Etsy store. So keep your eyes peeled if you're wanting to buy this pattern because it's going to be so much fun, and I just love it. I love Grogu. But anyways, so let me talk about real quick, if you've done a double crochet in your work up this way, double crochets, again, US standard terms, which this will be different for other parts of the world, but a single crochet in US standard terms is 2 stitches high. So what you're going to do in the end of that is you're going to do 2 stitches because your double crochets are 2 stitches high. We're just doing one for single crochet. Half double crochet is different. Half double crochet is 1.5 tall. So on that one's a little trickier because you don't put an even number of stitches in every single part of your stitch. If this makes any sense whatsoever, and I hope it does, sometimes my brain gets a little bit crazy, but I will go in terms of 2 half double crochet stitches high, and I will make sure that I have 3 stitches in those 2 stitches, if that makes sense. And that's how you get the edge of your projects to lay flat and not bunch up or not curl up because you've put too many or too few stitches in there. And that's all there is to it. And again, this is only where I put my stitches. You may want to put them in a different spot, and that's okay. It's wherever you're comfortable. I don't even know if this is right. I've never actually even watched anybody else that is a proficient crocheter do this. So, I mean, I could be like completely crazy and completely doing this all wrong, but it works for me. And since it works for me, and I feel like it might work for somebody else. So there you go. If you have any questions whatsoever about how this is done, or if you have any projects that aren't as simple as just, you know, single crochets back and forth or double crochets back and forth, which my patterns all will be, because I just think it's kind of, it makes my head hurt to try to follow a complex pattern, a stitch pattern, where you're doing like, you know, like 10 stitches that are different, and then you switch to another different 10, and then you go back to the first 10 stitches that you were doing. It's more relaxing for me to crochet if I am doing something like this that is kind of more of a muscle memory thing. That's where I get my relaxation from crochet, and I can still create beautiful things that way. So that's what you'll find in my Etsy store, but I have seen a lot of patterns that do all these fancy stitches, and they do look pretty. They really, really do. You can do a lot of really super fun, super cool things with those complex stitch patterns, but it's really not for me. That's not relaxing for me. So anyways, I am getting wordy again. Again, this is a wordy day. I'm sorry if I'm boring or, you know, like annoying to you guys. Just cut me off. Anyways, I'm going to cut myself off. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end of the video. I had a great time working on Grogu with you guys and working around the edge of my stitches. And ask me questions if you have them. I will be more than happy to help you out. Happy crochet, guys.